Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. You know, the show where we try to cut through all the noise and get to the heart of some really impactful conversations. And today, well, we're digging into one of those. It's based on a fascinating Soul Session interview with Michaéla Schippers.
Yeah, she's an academic, a professor, but this interview, it really goes way beyond just the purely academic side, doesn't it?
It really does. As we were going through the source material, what struck me was this incredible mix of things she shares. You get these deep psychological insights, but then also these very moving personal stories and some sharp observations about society, too. So our mission today really is to unpack how all these incredibly personal experiences, from childhood scars right through to very public academic battles, how they shape her view on things like happiness, integrity in academia, and, well, the bigger picture of our collective journey through trauma and healing.
Absolutely. And what's really compelling about Schipper's perspective, I think, is how she talks about resilience. It's not just about bouncing back. For her, it seems to be this very deliberate, conscious choice you make, moment by moment almost, to reframe things and try to break these ingrained patterns of trauma.
A conscious choice.
Yeah, it really highlights the power of individual agency, Even when you're up against these deep personal things or big systemic challenges, it gives you a lot to think about personally and maybe for society too.
Definitely. Okay, so let's start with the person, Michaéla Schippers herself. She's a psychologist, professor of behavior and performance management at Erasmus University, known for research on goal setting, group behavior, personal happiness.
Right, standard, impressive academic background.
Exactly. But what's key here is that she specifically mentioned doing this interview on a personal title, which to me signals she's ready to be really candid, really human, and not just wear the professor hat.
Yeah, and that really comes through, especially in how she defines happiness. It's quite unique. She argues it's not something you should chase directly. Instead, it's a byproduct of what you do in life.
A byproduct, like
Yeah.
a side effect almost.
Sort of. She gives examples like the joy she gets from 35 years of doing taekwondo or from her work when it's fulfilling, even when she has to deal with what she calls bureaucratic matters.
Yeah.
The admin stuff academics hate.
Right.
And what I found really striking was her honesty. She just says she's both happy and unhappy sometimes, and that she still gets these triggers from her, quote, unhappy childhood. She doesn't pretend it's all resolved.
That's refreshing, isn't it? No pretense of perfection. And that distinction, happiness is a byproduct, not a goal. It's interesting. But those triggers you mentioned, it really hammers home how much her early life impacted her. It's woven into everything. Like her name was changed when she was 2.5, from Kostjan or Karina to Michaéla.
Wow, at 2.5. That's a big shift early on.
Huge. You can only imagine the kind of identity questions that might raise later. And then at age 5, she really wanted to do judo. She saw it as like a symbol of power, of self-defense, a way to get some control, maybe.
In a world that felt out of control.
Rebelly. She describes her family background as very difficult. Her father, she says, had psychopathic traits. And this wasn't just dysfunction, it was, well, she says he actually found pleasure in hurting his kids.
That's incredibly dark.
It is. And her mother, she describes as a typical victim who didn't protect her or her 7 siblings.
7 siblings. So a large family in that difficult environment.
Yes. And it meant Michaéla had to become extremely self-reliant, incredibly young. Like she talks about being 6 or 7 and making conscious choices to avoid unsafe situations herself, figuring it out alone.
Already having to parent herself, essentially.
Right. And she also felt responsible for her younger siblings, which is what psychologists call parentification, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Where the child takes on the adult parental roles and kind of lose their own childhood in the process.
Yeah.
It creates resilience, maybe, but at a huge cost.
A huge cost, which makes the role of her aunt, Will, so incredibly important.
Ah, yes, the second mother.
That's what she calls her.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Michaéla moved in with her aunt that she started learning, quote, what normal is. Things we take for granted, like her aunt teaching her how to eat with a knife and fork.
It sounds trivial, but it's not about the cutlery, is it?
Not at all. It's about having a stable, supportive environment where you can finally learn the basic social skills, the cues, the interactions that were just missing before. It was like a fundamental re-education.
A chance to learn how to just be in a healthy way. That context is crucial, isn't it? for understanding her later actions.
Absolutely. It sets the stage for understanding the kind of courage she showed later on in a very different arena. I'm talking about her decision to research the COVID-19 measures.
Ah, yes. That definitely stirred things up.
Right. She decided to look into it, even though it meant pushing against the dominant narrative, the kind of mainstream view. And her findings, well, she concluded the measures had no effect on the virus itself, but caused many side effects.
And not minor ones, from what I recall.
No, she pointed to huge global consequences. Things like global hunger doubling since 2020, even quadrupling in West Africa. She linked those directly.
Which is a huge claim. And what's fascinating, beyond the findings themselves, is what happened when she tried to get this research out there. The academic resistance she faced.
Tell us about that.
Well, she described an enormous bias in the literature. Basically, studies supporting government policies that got published easily, quickly,
Okay.
which she argues created these perverse reward systems. Academics got rewarded, in a sense, for aligning with the official story.
So dissenting voices had a harder time.
Much harder. Scientists like her, or even someone like John Ioannidis, who's a very highly cited scientist, their research challenging the narrative got rejected repeatedly.
Repeatedly, even now.
Yeah, she mentioned some papers were still struggling to get published even into 2025, often rejected without, solid academic reasons being given. It suggests a real issue with open scientific debate.
That idea of perverse reward systems.
It makes you think of the Cobra effect, doesn't it?
Explain that.
It's that classic story from colonial India, I think, or Indonesia. Anyway, the British rulers wanted fewer cobras, so they offered a bounty for cobra heads.
Okay. Seems logical.
Initially, yeah, cobra numbers dropped. But then people realized they could make money by breeding cobras just to turn in the heads.
Oh, no.
Exactly. So when the government scrapped the bounty, all these breeders just released their now worthless cobras. The end result, more cobras than they started with.
Wow. So the incentive completely backfired.
Massively. And Schippers uses this to illustrate how these academic reward systems, maybe unintentionally, can end up promoting certain findings over others, potentially leading to a skewed picture of reality. The incentive itself corrupts the goal.
That's a powerful analogy. The Cobra effect in academia.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder where else that might be happening, right? These subtle incentives creating outcomes we don't expect.
Definitely.
And this ties into the personal cost for Schippers. Because she didn't just publish findings, she spoke out. And she knew there'd be backlash.
She anticipated it.
Fully anticipated it. But she felt she had to, driven by concern for her son's future. She worried about the world becoming more authoritarian.
So it was a matter of principle for her.
Deeply. Which made the reaction from her own university even more painful, I think. They publicly distanced themselves from her views without any discussion with her first.
Wow. After how long working there?
25 years. With what she described as an unblemished record. So it wasn't just professional disagreement. It felt like a deep personal betrayal.
25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. It really shows the potential price tag on academic freedom or, just speaking your conscience.
It does. And it makes you think who else might be staying silent.
And Schippers connects this personal experience to a much broader pattern, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
She suggests that what happened to her individually mirrors something larger. She talks about humanity being in a cycle of trauma and re-traumatization.
Explain that a bit.
Her idea is that our reactions, both personal and collective, often spring from these unresolved wounds, ancestral, parental, our own past experiences. We keep playing out these old patterns without even realizing it.
So we're kind of stuck in this loop.
That's the idea. And she has this incredibly poignant story about her own father that illustrates it perfectly.
The one about his vow.
Exactly. He had suffered severe trauma as a child himself, and he swore he would never do that to his own kids.
Okay.
But tragically, Schipper says he did exactly what was done to him.
Oh, wow. Despite the vow.
Despite the vow.
Yeah.
And her insight was chilling. He only focused on what he didn't want. He never thought about what he did want to do instead.
So, without a positive alternative in mind?
He just defaulted back to the only pattern he knew, the one he experienced. It shows how deep these cycles run, almost like they're programmed in if we don't consciously choose otherwise.
That's a heavy insight. It really highlights the challenge of breaking these patterns.
It does, which makes Schipper's own journey to break the cycle in her life even more powerful. She talks about making a very deliberate, conscious choice to not repeat the past.
That anecdote about the strawberry comes to mind.
Yes. It sounds so small, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She felt this uncontrollable urge to just take a strawberry from a 3-year-old's plate.
Okay.
But she recognized it. She saw it as an echo of her father's behavior, how he would take things from his kids.
Ah, I see the connection.
And in that moment, she paused, identified it, and consciously resisted the urge.
Right.
It's such a powerful example because it shows that breaking these cycles isn't always about huge, dramatic events. It's about that constant self-awareness, that conscious choice in the small, everyday moments, challenging those impulses.
That takes incredible self-awareness. And she doesn't just keep this at the personal level, does she? She extends it to society.
No, she definitely broadens the lens. She talks about dehumanization in public discourse.
The labels people use.
Exactly. Calling people whoppy or sheep or whatever the label is. She says it stops us seeing each other as human, as people who probably share similar underlying hopes and fears.
And she's careful to say it happens on all sides.
Yes, it happens on both sides, she notes. Even when people fundamentally might want the same things, like connection or safety.
And she also links this to what she calls a narcissistic culture.
Yeah, she sees narcissistic behavior in governance sometimes, driven by what she identifies as fear, money, and power, that combination.
The dangerous mix.
She believes so. And this kind of fear-driven dynamic, she argues, can push society into what she and Ioannidis called the death spiral effect.
That sounds ominous, like ants in a mill.
That's the metaphor, yeah. Society just blindly following a destructive path, unable to break out.
So how do we break out?
Well, that's the crucial part.
Yeah.
Their paper wasn't just about identifying the spiral. It focused on the reversal.
The reversal.
Yeah, figuring out how to actually get out of the spiral. Which sounds obvious, but she notes it's the step that often gets missed. People focus on the problem, on the downward trend, but not enough on actively designing and implementing the way back up. It requires that conscious collective choice again.
Okay, so it's a bleak picture, the spiral, but there's this idea of a possible reversal. That seems central.
Very central.
And amidst all this challenge, both personal and societal, Schippers also talks about her own coping mechanisms, right? Including a significant spiritual journey.
Yes, absolutely. During the early days of COVID, the fear felt overwhelming to her. She said it was like her childhood anxiety coming back.
Understandable, given her background.
Right. But instead of freezing, she turned to what she calls scientific coping. Actively seeking information.
Yeah.
Not just passively consuming news, but digging into data, calling experts like the medical ethicist Erwin Campaign, looking at different viewpoints, trying to cut through what she felt was a kind of anxiety psychosis to find clarity.
So using her research skills to ground herself.
Exactly. But there was also a deeper shift happening.
Yeah.
A spiritual one.
Tell me about that.
She described this profound transformation in how she viewed God. Because of her childhood trauma, she used to see God as, quote, 10 times worse than my father.
Wow, that's intense.
Incredibly. But through her journey, that shifted completely. She came to see God as love, and that this love, this divinity, is present in every human.
That's a huge transformation.
Massive.
Yeah.
And it led to this really moving moment she described. During lockdown, she was alone in an empty church.
Okay.
And she sang Psalm 42, as the deer pants for streams of water, just singing it aloud, alone in that space. It's such a powerful image, isn't it? Finding that connection, that hope, that solace from within, when everything external felt isolating and uncertain, a real testament to finding inner strength.
Absolutely. It really brings her personal story and her way of navigating challenges together.
Yeah. And it connects interestingly to her academic work on the meaning of life, too.
How so?
Well, her research emphasizes self-transcendent goals. The idea that focusing on something larger than yourself, on giving to others, actually brings more happiness than just pursuing your own pleasure or success.
Giving brings more than getting.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And she puts this into practice. She mentioned a gratitude exercise she runs with the students.
What does that involve?
For 2 weeks, they actively focus on things they're grateful for. Simple extra stuff.
And the results?
Pretty amazing. She said 98% reported feeling better afterwards. It shows the power of just shifting your focus, cultivating that positive perspective.
98%. That's remarkable.
It really is. And it fuels her belief, which is quite optimistic, that we have all the knowledge and skills to create heaven on earth right now.
Heaven on earth. That's a bold statement.
It is. But she argues it's not about waiting for some future utopia. It's about choosing to use the knowledge and compassion we already possess.
And she's trying to catalyze that choice.
Seems like it. She's involved in launching an initiative called the Great Citizens Movement.
Okay. What's the core idea?
It's built around a Great Citizens Declaration. The main push is for bottom-up co-creation.
Bottom up, meaning not waiting for leaders.
Exactly. Empowering individuals and communities to shape things themselves based on shared values. She lists 4 core ones: freedom, wisdom, humanity, and co-creation.
Freedom, wisdom, humanity, co-creation.
Right. And she's very clear. It's not about gurus. It's not about finding one leader to follow. It's about tapping into the power within everyone and recognizing that, as she puts it, the whole of humanity is one organism.
So collective action, individual empowerment.
That's the spirit. It's about people actively participating in creating the world they want.
It's a big vision. Does she worry about taking on too much, given her history of responsibility?
She actually addresses that. She admits she sometimes feels like the responsibility she felt for her family, she now has to do for the world. Which sounds like a potential trap. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Burnout waiting to happen.
But she says she's aware of it and actively uses life crafting. Things like taking camper holidays, doing sports, to find balance and make sure this drive doesn't consume her in the same way. Trying to live those values herself.
That self-awareness again, it seems key to her whole approach.
Wow. We've really covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
Yeah.
From Michaéla Schippers' incredibly tough childhood and the resilience she built, through her academic battles and the courage that took, right up to this vision she has for societal healing and change from the ground up.
It's quite a journey. Her story really is a powerful reminder of the human capacity to endure, to choose, and maybe even to transform trauma into a catalyst for positive action.
Yep. And for you listening, maybe the takeaway here is thinking about that power of conscious choice in your own life. You know, the ability to see patterns maybe from your own past or in society, and to make that deliberate decision to, well, to break the trauma, as Schippers puts it, or to look for that reversal point in any kind of negative spiral you might see around you or even feel within yourself.
It's a call to agency, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And Michaéla Schippers has this profound belief that we have all the knowledge and skills to create heaven on earth if we just decide to act on it. She even co-authored that Great Citizens Declaration we mentioned, laying out a vision based on freedom, wisdom, humanity, and co-creation. So we want to leave you with this thought to chew on. What's one concrete step, however small it feels, that you could take this week? A step driven by those values: freedom, wisdom, humanity, co-creation in your own life, your work, your community. How could you contribute, even in a small way, to that reversal and help foster a more connected, more humane world? Something to think about.